Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's Dominoid here once again, and this time I am taking control. So yes, we are talking this time about what is my favourite controller ever, the GameCube controller. So everyone's got their own particular favourite with games controllers. You do see a lot of people talk very favourably about Cheetah's range of joysticks, the Mavericks. The Competition Pro, of course, is generally seen as being the standard. But then you move on to game pads. You've got things like the NES pad, which you'd probably quite like if you had square hands. I see a lot of people talking about the Mega Drive pad very favourably. And, of course, there's the more modern pads like Sony's DualShock and Microsoft's Xbox controller. For me, this is the pinnacle of controller design. And I'll tell you why. There's a couple of things. So the first is this notchy bit here, which doesn't seem to do anything. You've just got this big bulbous bit on the end, but that is the perfect place to rest these fingers without crossing them over as you would do on a smaller controller. So it's all about comfort and ergonomics. Everything is designed to be comfortable. These trigger buttons, look, your finger fits in there so that it rests on them and it's not unnaturally pressing above a button. It would be nice if there was a left Z button, but you know, you can't be that picky. There's a lot of buttons on here anyway. You have dual analog sticks, which was a fairly unheard of thing at the time for most consoles. I think at the time the PlayStation 1 was out, wasn't it? And I think their analog controller had that, but it wasn't the default. So it still counts as being something relatively unique. And it's comfortable. But there's also the way that they've designed the joysticks. I always thought was quite clever because it's got these 8 points on that, and they're not in an octagon just because that looks good. That helps with precision. If you want to go exactly southwest, then you just point it there and you know where that is. So you don't have that sort of slight issue that I find in a lot of 3D games where you just sort of go veering off to one side because your thumb isn't completely straight in relation to the joystick. So it's such a nice little controller. And one of the other things that I really, really like about the GameCube controller is the fact that I can use this on every Nintendo system since the GameCube. It works on the Wii out of the box. It works on the Wii U with an adapter, at least it does for a couple of games. And that Wii U GameCube controller adapter plugged into the Switch, that means that this can actually be used with every single Switch game. They don't market that, which is probably because they're not selling the adapter anymore. But if you've got one, if you've got the Wii U adapter and you've got a Switch, dig it out and plug it in. You can play Super Mario Odyssey with this. You can play Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with this. It is so much more comfortable than the Joy-Cons. Don't get me wrong, Joy-Cons are nice, but they are not comfortable, especially for somebody with giant hands like me. So I love the GameCube controller, and I've got a few of these. Now, this, as you can see, is the black edition of it. This wasn't the first colour it came in. When the GameCube was launched, it came in this really funky purple colour. And I do have a purple one. You can probably see a slight issue, however, in that the joystick has, I can only assume, been eaten by a dog. Maybe somebody's toddler, I don't know, but it's definitely been abused. I mean, it still works, it's functionally correct, but that's not comfortable. Your thumb keeps slipping off of it, and you're probably eventually going to get a horrible little notch. So, I mean, why did I pick this one up? Well, quite frankly, the original purple pads I find a lot more difficult to get on the second-hand market. They seem to be bid up quite highly on eBay. People very much like them. So I picked this one up very cheap because it had some damage on it. And today we are going to be fixing that damage. So we have everything that we need right here on the workbench. First of all, we have a tri-wing screwdriver. I'm not sure if you can see that there. I'll try and get the autofocus to pick it up. There we go. That is the type of screwdriver that is used on the controller. Nintendo favoured this on their portable machines as well. It is a 3-pronged screwdriver. You can get that for about £1 or so on eBay. Also for about £1 on eBay is this replica analogue stick. Looks pretty much identical to the regular one. And of course, we need the controller itself. And the most important thing, a nice cup of tea. So, let's open up the controller first of all. And there's a lot of grime here. So, if you are of a nervous disposition and you dislike large quantities of dirt, well, not going to enjoy this. Not going to enjoy this in the slightest. Now this screwdriver that I have is a magnetic one. Just makes it that little bit easier to get out the screws that are quite deeply recessed in these sections. That's not necessary, it's just a nice little touch from the one that I got. I thought that was quite nice, so I bought it. It's a little bit more difficult to get a bite on those screws in there. You want to be very careful because these are quite small screws, and of course by this time they are quite old, so they're not going to be of the highest quality. And also this is a very cheap screwdriver, so I can't guarantee that the screwdriver won't fall apart. So far though, I haven't stripped any screws and everything is good. But you do want to be careful with screws. If you strip a screw, it can be very, very difficult to come back from that. I've done that before when trying to repair a 2DS, and they're tiny, tiny little screws in that machine. So what I ended up having to do was actually drill through the screw in order to get it out. Obviously it destroyed the screw and I had to replace it. Very difficult thing to do. Right, so there we are. There is the innards. We can see the rumble motor there, and we can see all of the various controls. Here though, here is the main part that we are interested in. Little analog stick there, which has seen better days. I've got no idea what it got eaten by, but it got eaten. So all you do here is literally just pull that straight up. You can see in there, there's just a little square clip, goes onto this part here, and you have got your joystick. Now I'm going to give this a little bit of a clean with some isopropyl alcohol before I reassemble it, because quite frankly this is filthy. And then for the changeover, really literally all you're doing is you're just popping that straight onto the existing spindle. So you just put it, you'll see it's got a curved part on it. So you just line up that curved part with the curved part of the spindle there. You give it a little bit of a push and it's done. And now all we need to do is just reassemble this. So we put everything back where it was. We've got our analog controllers both there. You match up these little screw posts, a couple of little black things that go through. Make sure your Z switch is still in place. Be careful of the cable here as well. There is a little section where it goes in. I don't know if you can see just there. That goes around that post and then it comes out through here. There is a little bit of plastic that appears to have snapped off that would hold that in place, but it's secure enough. It's not dreadful. Some little clips. Put that back together, and then we are just replacing the screws, getting those screwed back into position. And there, look at that. It is as good as new. And I'm going to grab the black one to show you the two of them side by side. And there, yeah, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between those. If you didn't know one had been replaced, you would be very hard pressed to tell the difference. And you can see there is a very slight difference in the moulding there. You can see that the lines on the black one are slightly more pronounced than on my purple one. But overall, I'm pleased with that. That is nice and comfy, as it should be. All of the buttons are working again. That's exactly what I wanted. So I'm happy with that. There we go. So that's it. That's a repaired GameCube controller. Thank you very much for joining me then. I hope you enjoyed my little ramble about the virtues of the GameCube controller, and I hope I've been a little bit helpful in teaching anybody who didn't already know how to perform the repair job. It's a simple job. If I can do it, then I'm absolutely certain that you can do it. If I've been helpful, please drop us a link down in the comments below. If I've not been particularly helpful and I've just waffled on and wasted your time, feel free to do the same. It all helps the video, and remember to think about liking and subscribing and following and all that other lovely stuff. I will see you again very soon. So thank you very much for watching, and cheers.